Part of the universe is missing! Ah! Luckily for NASA and the rest of us, Dr. Philip Carrot of the University of Iowa Physics and Astronomy Department is working in collaboration with the Goddard Space Flight Center to build a CuBE satellite to help us find out where it's all at. Carrot has been involved with CuBE satellite research for several years. He has constructed a radiation detector for a CuBE satellite built by the Radio Amateur Satellite Corporation to measure the Van Allen belts. He's also built the radio antennas that are installed on the top of Van Allen Hall, which communicate with the CuBE satellites. This is his third year trying to propose a CuBE satellite project for NASA.
Professor Carrot has a long history when it comes to his interest in astronomy and physics. He thinks it all may have started in 2nd or 3rd grade when he received his first telescope. He went to Princeton and then on to receive his PhD from CERN in Europe, then spent about half his lifetime living in Geneva and working on experiments. After returning back to the United States, he got involved in a black hole project run by Columbia University. After this, he was offered a job at the University of Iowa in 2004 and has been a professor here ever since. Professor Carrot has designed a small CuBE satellite, which is basically a small box ring modified to carry an assortment of tools that Carrot will be using to measure certain aspects of the universe. The goal of this construct is to measure what Professor Carrot calls a halo around the Milky Way, in order to find out whether the halo is small or large. Based on these measurements, provided by the small rig, Professor Carrot will be able to determine whether the missing energy is hidden away in a big halo of hot gas, or the Milky Way's halo is relatively small. Professor Carrot explained to us why he began working on the project.
That there was this question that's very interesting, and that we could address it with a very novel way.
Mm-hmm. Professor Carrot briefly explains the missing matter problem.
What we're trying to do is look for X-ray, and there's a question. So we have a galaxy, the Milky Way, which you think of usually as like the band across the sky, or a disk. Okay, but we know that there's some hot gas around the Milky Way, but there's no question whether it's a little bit of hot gas that's just above the disk, or it's a huge halo of hot gas. And so if it's a big halo, then a lot of the mass of the Milky Way could be in this hot stuff. If it's small, then we're probably seeing most of it there. And so we're trying to figure out whether or not the Milky Way is inside this big halo of hot gas, or the Milky Way's halo is actually relatively compact.
When asked what he thinks the outcome of the project would be, he explained to us that he tries not to form an opinion about the end result, and that the whole point of doing the project is to find out the answer, so he tries to keep an open mind. Although there are many people out there who have already formed an opinion.
There are definitely, in the scientific literature, there are two camps. There's definitely a group of people who think it's a compact halo and doesn't contribute very much, and there are probably a few more people who think it's a very extended thing. And so we have, astronomers have meetings, right? And there's actually a meeting that'll be held in Florida in April.
Oh, wow.
And I'm organizing a special session actually just devoted to this question, to bring the people, scientists who've already published papers on this topic, and we're inviting them all together and get them in a room for a couple hours, and they will go at it.
Professor Carrot explains how modifications on this project will help benefit future projects as well.
Okay.
Yeah, if this one works, there are definitely things. In fact, there's some things that we're doing specifically for this satellite that, like for instance, this satellite, we have to point it at a particular part of the sky, but given our 10 by 10 degrees, we don't actually have to point it very accurately.
Oh, okay.
But but we're actually going to put in a system that can point it extremely accurately. Just even though we don't need it, if we put it in this time, we can then prove it. So next time we have a mission that requires us to point the satellite very accurately, we'll already have, proven it that it works and everything. So, and then if it fails, it's not actually such a huge deal because we didn't need it this time. So we're doing a lot of stuff that we're always looking to the next one.
The project has a 4-year timeline, and the satellite is scheduled to launch in 2018. Carrot says the timeline is perfect for students who could stay on from start to finish, unlike many other projects in the department, which sometimes take as long as 10 years to complete. Carrot hopes to attract 2 to 3 graduate students and 10 to 12 undergraduates to work on the project over the course of 4 years.
The importance of this story is to let the University of Iowa community have access to a nationally known problem. Through this project, many more questions about the universe could be answered. Today, students could benefit from the concept of this project finding an answer to an unknown question. People don't realize how easily accessible, incredibly smart people are at the university. The great minds at the University of Iowa have always worked to make new great advances in their fields, but these advancements are seldomly brought to the public's attention. However, with a project being funded by a globally known science organization like NASA, the university will finally be gaining attention from a worldwide audience.